Hi, everyone. This is Stephen. Welcome to the 40 Fit Club podcast. Tonight, I'm talking about getting your optimum protein intake. Give me just 1 second. We're going to be doing the switching screens over here. Well, I'm just doing a quick Google research right now, so I'm just going to try and talking about maximizing muscle protein synthesis. Typically, I'd like to have a client would consume about zero point 0.4, zero point 0.5, zero point 0.5 to zero point 0.6 grams of proteins a bar per pound of body weight, but that's really for a person who is not very active. For overall daily intake, if you're an active person, I do recommend 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. That's roughly zero point 0.7 to 1 grams per pound. And I recommend that, spacing it over 3 to 5 hours. So basically, you want to get your protein from natural sources. You don't want to just solely rely on supplements. I mean, there are several excellent supplements out there, like muscle milk is an excellent supplement. Pure protein is also an excellent supplement. According to Hartford Healthcare, this is about how much protein you might need to build muscle. If you ever Googled how much protein you need to build muscle, you know the advice is all over the place. From bodybuilders swearing by 250 grams protein per day to TikTokers blending chicken into smoothies. It's easy to think that you need a meal with a side of protein powder to see results, but building muscle doesn't mean downing protein shakes, according to Chris Barnett, a registered dietitian with the Hartford Healthcare Bone Joint Institute. Most people need less than they think. So, how much protein do you think you actually need? Let's do a little bit of math. If you're trying to build some muscle, a good rule is the thumb is I would use zero point 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and Barnett agrees with me. So, if you weigh 175 pounds, that's approximately 125 grams of protein per day, more than the standard recommendation for general health, but nowhere near the extreme levels of some fitness circles of 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. You don't need multiple protein shakes or 10 egg whites every morning, says Barnett. Many athletes are so focused on consuming protein that they also consume too much fat and not enough carbs. Do you really have to eat protein right after a workout? According to Barnett, short answer is no, but it does help certain athletes. You don't have to sprint from the gym to the blender, but eating protein within an hour or two after of a workout with a regular meal can help with muscle repair and growth. Just keep in mind, bigger picture matters more. As long as your daily protein intake is where it should be, you're in good place, Barnett adds. If you aren't eating enough protein in total, your progress when it comes to increasing your muscle mass may stall, no matter how hard you are training. By the way, I'm an ACE certified personal trainer, and I want to give a shout out to 40 Fit Club for sponsoring this podcast. You can probably get all the protein you need from your diet: eggs, chicken, fish, beans, milk, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, pork, tenderloin, tofu. These are plenty of foods out over there with a lot of protein that reach your protein goals. If you plant-based diet, if you follow plant-based diet, you can still reach your protein goals. It just takes a little bit more planning. I agree with Barnett on that one too. Plant-based proteins tend to be lower in some amino acids, so it's important to mix it up throughout the day. Think legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, or soy. And there's nothing wrong with using protein powders for convenience. They are great when you are busy or on the go, but protein powders need to be thoroughly tested and should consist primarily of protein. Third-party certificates like NSF, Certified for Sports, should be on the product to make sure that what you're taking is safe and labeled. I agree with that too, with Barnett on this one also. If you're going to start taking protein supplements, check with a registered dietitian or a sports dietitian first, or check with your doctor. Because there is such a thing as too much protein. For people, a little extra protein isn't harmful, but protein tends to be higher in fat, so higher in fat too. If you're consistently eating more protein than you need, extra calories will start to add up. That's most dietitians warn. In this case, more isn't always better. It's just the right balance for what your goals are. If you're overweight or obese and trying to reduce calories to lose fat, eating slightly more protein along with proper weight training will help you preserve your muscle. You might want to bump up to closer to 0.8 to 1 gram protein per pound of body weight, Barnett notes. That way you'll be primarily losing fat instead of strength and muscle. It doesn't have to be complicated to meet what your proteins needs. We'll just use train consistently. This looks like some really good articles, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up another one. This is from the National Institute of Health. Okay, this is a dietary protein, translating science into application and health benefit. And they were explaining in the abstract right over here. The adequate consumption of dietary protein is critical for a maintenance of optimum health during normal growth and aging. The current recommendation allowance RDA for a protein is defined as the minimum amount required to prevent lean body mass loss, but is often misrepresented or misinterpreted as recommended optimal intake. Over the past 2 decades, the potential muscle related benefits achieved by consuming higher protein diets have become increasingly clear. Despite greater awareness of higher protein diets, have been increasingly might be advantageous for muscle mass. Actual dietary patterns, particularly as they pertain to the protein, have remained relatively unchanged in American adults. This lack of change may result from confusion over purported detrimental effects of higher protein diets. In this manuscript, we're kind of they're highlighting the potential, highlighting common perceptions and benefits of dietary protein on muscle mass. But we have to address the misconceptions related to protein diets and comment on the research of academic advances in real life. Health benefits given to vast research evidence supporting positive effects on dietary protein intake and optimal health. We encourage critical evaluation of protein intake, recommendations, and responsible representation and application of the recommended dietary allowance as a minimum protein required rather than one determined to be optimally meet the needs of the population. Consuming adequate dietary protein is critical for maintaining optimal health, growth, and development. Yes, that's all great. Now, this is an article by the USDA.org. I'm skeptical about this. First, food first fueling when to consume protein for maximum health and muscle growth. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, data on protein timing for optimizing hypertrophy muscle growth is conflicting. Limited sample sizes, small effect size, short study duration, and difficulty tightly controlling study parameters make it hard to effectively create a conclusive nutritional guidance. If you find yourself pulling your hair out each time you hear nutritional information, that counters what you thought you knew. You're not alone. In the past few years, one of the most common protein related misconceptions is that it's impossible to absorb more than 25 grams of protein at once due to oversaturation of receptors. This leads people to believe that the optimum growth they must dose the protein continues throughout the day. Originally, this information came from the 2013 study where participants experienced greater muscle growth when fed 20 grams of protein a day 4 times a day. Arietta et al. 2013, that's the study author. However, both groups had much lower protein intake than currently recommended. The researchers utilized whey protein, a fast absorbing protein, the source that quickly saturates receptors in the intestinal wall. However, when eating slower and absorbing protein sources such as those that come from a varied diet of meats, eggs, beans, and plant-based proteins, a 25-gram limit that seemed to apply. That's Morton. The study was done by Morton et al. 2018. This misconception can lead people to consume protein at meals in favor of eating small amounts every 2 to 3 hours of the day. Some experts in sports nutrition and exercise physiology are mostly in agreement with this, should aim to consume about 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight to maximize your muscle protein synthesis. That's in Morton et al. And Phillips et al. 2020 study. For a 150-pound person, that would equate to about 109 grams to 150 grams of protein per day. How much protein do you guys intake? Leave your comments in the comment section.